It'll be funny. Just wait here, we'll be right back. Those were the last words my fiancée Melissa said to me before she and her 3 girlfriends drove away, leaving me standing alone at a gas station in rural Montana, 87 miles from the nearest town with a hotel. It was midnight, 42 degrees, and my phone was at 8% battery. My name is Eric Nelson, 29 years old, IT security specialist from Seattle. I was supposed to be celebrating my upcoming wedding with a weekend trip to Glacier National Park with Melissa and her friends. A trip I paid for despite my initial reluctance. As I stood there watching their taillights disappear around the bend, I had no idea that this prank would completely change the course of my life. Melissa and I had been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. We met through mutual friends at a tech conference, and I fell hard for her outgoing personality and infectious laugh. She worked in marketing at a startup, loved adventure, and had a wide circle of friends who were always planning weekend trips and outings. I was more reserved, preferred smaller gatherings, and valued my quiet time. Differences that initially seemed complementary but had increasingly become sources of tension. "You need to loosen up," she'd tell me. "Life's too short to be so serious all the time." Maybe she was right. Maybe that's why I agreed to this trip with her 3 closest friends, Ashley, Tara, and Kate, despite my misgivings. I'd never felt particularly comfortable around them. They had a tendency to share inside jokes I wasn't privy to, and often made comments about how Melissa was too fun for someone like me. But I wanted to make Melissa happy, and I thought that building a better relationship with her friends was important for our future. So I took 4 days off work, paid for the cabin rental, covered the gas for the 9-hour drive, and even stocked the SUV with snacks and drinks for everyone. I had hoped that my efforts would be appreciated, that maybe her friends would finally see that I wasn't just the boring IT guy they seemed to think I was. I was wrong. The trip started pleasantly enough. We left Seattle early Friday morning, the conversation flowing easily as we made our way east. But as the hours passed, I found myself increasingly excluded. The 4 of them reminisced about college adventures and past trips, occasionally throwing me a bone with an explanation of who or what they were talking about, but mostly leaving me feeling like an outsider. Still, I tried to stay positive. This was about building bridges after all. By the time we stopped for dinner in Idaho, they were several drinks in at a roadside bar while I nursed a single beer, knowing I'd be the one driving the rest of the way. As we got back on the road, the jokes started becoming more pointed. Tara suggested that maybe they should toughen me up before the wedding, and Ashley wondered aloud if Melissa was really sure about marrying someone who couldn't even handle a little fun. Melissa didn't defend me. Instead, she laughed along. Around midnight, we stopped at a small gas station in western Montana to refuel. I went inside to pay and grab some coffee, leaving my phone charging in the car. When I came out, Melissa asked me to check if the gas station sold Tylenol. I headed back in, and that's when I heard the engine start. Rushing outside with the medicine, I saw Melissa in the driver's seat, her friends laughing hysterically in the back. "It'll be funny. Just wait here. We'll be right back." Melissa called out the window as they pulled away. I stood there in disbelief, coffee in one hand, Tylenol in the other, watching as my SUV, disappeared down the dark highway. At first, I thought they were just circling the block, that they'd be back in a minute laughing at my shocked expression. But 1 minute turned into 5, then 10, then 30. The gas station attendant, an older man named Bill according to his name tag, watched me with growing concern. "Everything all right, son?" he asked eventually. I explained the situation, trying to make it sound like a harmless prank, though I was starting to worry. Bill shook his head, his weathered face expressing a mixture of sympathy and disgust. "Some joke," he muttered. "You can wait inside if you want. Gets cold out here this time of night." I thanked him and went inside, trying Melissa's cell. Straight to voicemail. I tried each of her friends. Same result. My phone battery was rapidly depleting. I'd left my charger in the car, and panic was starting to set in. Were they really coming back? Had something happened to them? Or was this just a prank gone too far? An hour passed. Bill informed me he was closing up but offered to drive me to the nearest motel, about 20 miles back the way we had come. I appreciate it, I told him, but I think I'd better wait. They'll probably be back soon. He looked doubtful but nodded. Suit yourself. I'll leave the outdoor light on. Good luck, buddy. As he drove away, I was left completely alone at the deserted gas station. The temperature was dropping, and all I had was a light jacket. My phone was now at 3% battery, and still no word from Melissa or her friends. I huddled near the building, trying to stay in the light, fighting off both the cold and the growing sense of betrayal. At 2:37 a.m., just as my phone was about to die, a text came through from Melissa. OMG babe, I'm so sorry. The girls thought it would be funny to see how you'd handle it. We got carried away. We're heading back now. Love you. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The casual tone, the laughing emoji, the complete lack of understanding of what she had put me through, it was like a slap in the face. And the girls thought it would be funny? As if she hadn't been a willing participant? As if she hadn't driven away herself, leaving her fiancé stranded in the middle of nowhere, in the cold, with a dying phone? It was in that moment, as I sat there shivering in the harsh fluorescent light of the closed gas station, that I felt something shift inside me. The hurt and worry were still there, but they were being eclipsed by something else. Clarity. For 3 years, I had been making excuses for Melissa's behavior. For 3 years, I had been trying to fit myself into her world, changing my preferences, my habits, even my personality at times, to be the person she wanted me to be. And what had it gotten me? Abandoned at a gas station as a joke. I looked down at the engagement ring on my finger, a simple band I wore as a promise of our future together. I twisted it off and held it in my palm, feeling its weight. Then I slipped it into my pocket. By the time headlights finally appeared on the horizon around 3:15 a.m., I had made my decision. I stood up straight as the SUV pulled into the gas station, watching as Melissa jumped out, her expression a mixture of amusement and performative concern. Eric, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The girls just thought it would be funny, I finished for her, my voice eerily calm. Yeah, you mentioned that in your text. Her friends stayed in the car, their silhouettes visible through the windows. I could imagine them waiting to see my reaction, probably hoping for anger or tears they could later laugh about. Are you mad? Melissa asked, her voice small, though I could detect the edge of a smile, as if she still thought this was all just a big joke. No, I said, and I meant it. I'm not mad, I'm done. Her smile faltered. What do you mean done? I mean I'm done with this relationship. I'm done trying to be someone I'm not for you and your friends. I'm done making excuses for behavior like this. She stared at me, clearly not having expected this reaction. Eric, come on, it was just a prank. We were always coming back. 3 hours later, I pointed out, and only after having your fun. Do you have any idea what could have happened to me out here? Do you even care? Of course I care. You're being dramatic. Nothing happened to you. You're fine. I laughed hollowly. Yeah, I am fine. For the first time in a long time, I'm seeing things clearly. I walked past her to the SUV and opened the back door. Her friends avoided my gaze as I grabbed my backpack and pulled out my laptop bag. What are you doing? Melissa demanded, following me. Taking my essential stuff. You can send the rest to my parents' address. You're not seriously breaking up with me over a stupid joke? I zipped up my backpack and turned to face her. It's not about the joke, Melissa. It's about respect. It's about trust. It's about the fact that you and your friends think it's okay to leave someone stranded in the middle of nowhere as entertainment. Her eyes narrowed. So what? You're just going to walk to the nearest town? Don't be ridiculous. Get in the car. We'll talk about this when we're all less tired. I shook my head. I've already called a rideshare. It'll be here in about 10 minutes. This was a lie. My phone was dead, and there were no rideshare services in this remote area, but I needed them to leave. A rideshare? Out here? Bull, Mel, Ashley called from inside the car. Let's just go. He'll calm down eventually. Melissa looked torn, but I could see the moment she decided to believe my bluff. She wasn't going to beg, not in front of her friends. Her pride wouldn't allow it. Fine, she snapped. Be that way. Call me when you're ready to grow up and accept an apology. She got back into the SUV and slammed the door. As they drove away for the second time that night, I felt nothing but relief. Of course, I now had a new problem. I was still stranded, now with a dead phone and all my camping gear gone with them. But somehow this predicament seemed manageable compared to the thought of continuing in a relationship that had just revealed its true nature. I sat back down near the gas station, prepared to wait until morning when hopefully someone would open the place up. But just 20 minutes later, headlights appeared again. Not from the direction Melissa had gone, but from the opposite way. It was Bill, the gas station attendant, in his pickup truck. He rolled down his window. Thought I'd check on you before heading to bed. Saw your ride leave. Need a lift somewhere? The kindness of this stranger nearly brought me to tears. That would be amazing, thank you. As I climbed into his truck, I explained what had happened. Bill shook his head in disbelief. Some people, he muttered. Well, I can take you to my cousin's motel. It's not fancy, but it's clean, and he'll probably give you a discount given the circumstances. That night, lying in a bed at the surprisingly comfortable Mountain View Motel, I made a plan. I had my laptop, my wallet, and my backpack with a few clothes. I had the skills to make myself disappear digitally if I wanted to. And in that moment, I did want to. The next morning, I used the motel's computer to check out my options. There was a bus leaving for Missoula in the afternoon. From there, I could get to anywhere in the country. I made a few phone calls from the motel phone, to my boss explaining that I needed emergency personal leave, to my parents telling them not to worry but that things had ended with Melissa and I needed some time alone, and finally, to my bank, to make sure Melissa couldn't access any of my accounts. I didn't call Melissa. Let her wonder. Before checking out, I used my laptop to make a few digital arrangements. I set up email filters so that anything from Melissa or her friends would go to a separate folder that I wouldn't have to look at. I changed all my social media settings to private, then deactivated the accounts. I set up an automatic reply on my personal email that simply said I was taking time off to reevaluate my life and would respond when I was ready. I left my engagement ring on the motel desk with a note for the cleaner. Free to a good home. Then I boarded the bus to Missoula with a strange sense of peace. As Montana's rugged landscape rolled by outside the window, I felt like I was shedding an old skin, leaving behind a version of myself that had compromised too much, that had accepted less than he deserved. In Missoula, I checked into a different hotel under my middle name, bought a new prepaid phone, and spent the next few days thinking about what I really wanted from life. Did I want to return to Seattle, where I'd likely run into Melissa? Did I want to move somewhere completely new? Or did I want to take this opportunity to do something I'd always dreamed of but had put off because of relationships or work? By the end of the week, I had my answer. I'd always wanted to live abroad, to experience a different culture, a different way of life. My job could be done remotely. I'd already been working from home 2 days a week. What if I asked to make it 5? I emailed my boss, explaining my situation more fully and proposing a completely remote arrangement. To my surprise and delight, he agreed, on the condition that I be available during certain core hours, Seattle time, no matter where I was in the world. Meanwhile, my phone silence had apparently driven Melissa to desperation. According to my parents, she'd shown up at their house in tears, claiming I was missing, possibly in danger. They'd calmly informed her that I was fine, just taking some time to myself after our breakup. Breakup? She'd apparently exclaimed. He's not answering my calls or texts. I thought he was just upset about the prank. My mother, never one to mince words, had told her, if you think abandoning someone in the middle of nowhere is a prank, then you two definitely shouldn't be together. Melissa had left in tears, but not before trying to get my parents to tell her where I was. They hadn't known the specifics, only that I was safe and needed space. 2 weeks after the gas station incident, I boarded a plane to Lisbon, Portugal. I'd always been drawn to its colorful streets, rich history, and the way it balanced European charm with a laid-back vibe. I'd found a furnished apartment for a 6-month lease, right in the historic Alfama district. As the plane took off, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. This wasn't just an escape. It was a reclaiming of my life. I'd been in Lisbon for about a month when I finally checked the email folder where all of Melissa's messages had been automatically sorted. There were dozens, their tone evolving from annoyed, "Stop being childish and call me," to concerned, "Are you okay? Please just let me know you're safe," to pleading, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize how upset you were," to angry again, "You can't just disappear like this, it's cruel," and finally to acceptance, "I guess this is really over, I wish you'd given us a chance to talk about it." I sent one reply, "I'm safe and well. The relationship is over, please respect my decision and don't contact me again." Then I closed my laptop, left my apartment, and walked down to the nearest cafe for a coffee and pastry. As I sat there watching locals and tourists pass by, listening to the melodic sound of Portuguese conversations around me, I felt no regret. 6 months turned into a year. I fell in love with Lisbon, made friends, and even started learning Portuguese. My work thrived in the new environment, and I was promoted to team lead, managing security specialists across multiple time zones. Eventually, through mutual friends, I heard that Melissa had moved on. She was dating someone new, someone apparently more aligned with her lifestyle. I wished her well internally, but had no desire to reconnect. As for me, I was building a life I actually wanted, not one I thought I should want. I'd started hiking on weekends, exploring Portugal's beautiful coastline. I'd taken up photography, capturing the unique light and colors of my new home. And I'd met someone, Sofia, a Portuguese architect with a quiet confidence and genuine respect for boundaries that was refreshing after my experience with Melissa. Sometimes I think about that night at the gas station, how what seemed like the lowest point turned out to be the push I needed to make a real change. Melissa and her friends thought they were playing a harmless prank, but they inadvertently set me free. I don't harbor anger anymore. If anything, I'm grateful. Without that wake-up call, I might have gone through with the wedding, might have spent years trying to fit into a life that wasn't right for me, might never have found the courage to pursue what I really wanted. The best revenge, as they say, is living well. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I disappeared from Melissa's life completely, but in doing so, I finally appeared in my own.